Hi everyone, I'm glad to see you all. My name is Jimmy, and today we have no less interesting stories. Let's get started. Story 1 from user Crypty. A certain global conferencing company still saves passwords for their web products in plain text. Any, and I mean any, employee that works there can see the password. My password there was not my password, because I know other people would see it eventually, and they'd even comment, laugh about it. Also, we once discovered that our main conferencing software was letting you sign in regardless of the password you entered, meaning you could sign in with any email address. Once we brought it up, we first were immediately stonewalled and told not to say anything about it in written format. TLDR. They had the dev team and legal on a conference call, and they decided it was best to just keep it quiet until they fixed it later that day. No client was to be notified of the issue, and the ones that knew of it were basically given a runaround until they gave up. They also added call spoofing to the software. They called it something fancier, but it was call spoofing. You could make a call and make it appear from any number you wanted. My team raised this concern many times, but were countered with, no one will actually use it for that. That place was a gold mine of security risks. Story 2 from user VictR117. I'm not really sure if what I saw was declassified or expired, so I can't give specifics. I participated in arming and training some militia groups in Iraq to fight ISIS that had highly questionable motives and very little vetting done on them. I'm pretty sure that if we didn't need the cannon fodder for the siege of Mosul, that we would probably be bombing and drone striking some of the groups that we were busy passing out guns to. Also, I once had an IED dog alert on a truck that had a highly concerning amount of brain matter on it. I mean, yeah, any amount would be suspect, but there was like 5 or 6 people's worth of brains there. I've seen head pops and know how much brains get around, and there was a lot more than that present. We had dragged him from the vehicle and were preparing to conduct a more thorough search. We were ordered via radio to stand down and let the guy, who was eerily cheerful about driving a truck plastered from bed to hood in human brain matter, continue on his way. He gave me a pack of smokes, smiled, and said he took no offense to our search and understood how troubling the situation must appear, that he felt that we were welcome guests in his country, and that he hoped we had a nice day, then drove off. Story 3 from user Laura McCabe Moon. On the TV show House Hunters, where they are presented with 3 properties and must choose one, they've already chosen. In order to be selected to be on the show, you must already have an offer in and accepted on a property and be in closing. It's a foregone conclusion which one of the 3 properties they're going to be moving into. If you watch the show carefully for clues, you can start to figure out which one, although they continue to fool me from time to time. Hint. Boxes are a clue. If they're viewing a house that's full of moving boxes where people are clearly packing, that's the house they've already bought. The other 2 properties may or may not have even been properties they considered during their search. They can simply be comps now on the market, or properties chosen for some kind of contrasting appeal. The debates on the show are manufactured as well. That's probably less surprising. The wife that wants a yard for the kids and the husband that wants a short commute aren't actually as invested in their opposing viewpoints as they pretend to be. Not that these issues don't matter to the homebuyers at all, but the producers take some pre-existing issues and ask the homebuyers to play them up as if they are more crucial or debatable than they really are. That's why you often see one of the buyers suddenly give in for no apparent reason on something they had been fighting for until the last minute. In addition to the fact that one of the properties is already a foregone conclusion, so there's really no meat to the discussion anyway. I know all of this, and I shamelessly watch House Hunters anyway. Not under an NDA, just such a fan of the show that I troll message boards about it, and found a discussion by a family who had been on the show. That family had been under an NDA and revealed all of this. Story 4 from user Bobaganoush. I used to work at EA back in 2013 as a QA game tester. When hired, we had to sign NDAs basically saying you wouldn't disclose info about the projects you were working on. E3 happened that year, and the game I was working on, NBA Live, got announced, revealed, all that good stuff. It was big deal. But they basically did a full reveal on it. Well, I thought it was okay to now say the game I'm working on. On my YouTube channel, I did a game commentary video where I said like 2 weeks later, I was working on NBA Live. That's all I said. I didn't give any insight to it. I didn't give any details, nothing like that. Well, I had another video I did where I discussed my job as a game tester. I didn't give any specific details on it or anything office-related that I shouldn't whatsoever. Just kind of expressed what my day was like. Get newest build for our game, play it, find bugs, reproduce said bugs, write bug reports, check to see if other bugs were now fixed. Basically, you could Google this and get what I said. I never said anything bad. I didn't disclose information that wasn't already known about. The thing I said about my job is just common sense. It's nothing like secretive. The game was revealed. All I did was say I'm working on it. But I feel like they were extra sensitive about it. BC, it was the year the next gen, Xbox One and PS4 consoles were still in development, so we had the first dev kits and all that. So I feel like working on a next gen game, they took it more serious maybe? I don't know. Well, week or so later I go into work. My project lead told me I had to go home, like on the spot. I knew what was happening. I actually cried to him and told him, "Be real with me. Am I being fired?" He said he couldn't tell me anything. I get home. HR calls me about an hour later, telling me I broke my NDA and disclosed company secrets and information. I was baffled. I said, "Say what? How?" I never disclosed anything that wasn't one already known about, or two simple duties of my job that's like in the job description of a game tester. Well, we argued back and forth. They told me to take the video down as a sign of good faith. I knew they'd probably fire me anyway, but I loved that job, so if there was a chance I could stay. Well, I took it down, and 30 minutes later they called me and fired me. I was really bummed for a while after that. I really loved the job and the work I was doing, the people I was working with, the experience I was getting at that job. At the time, I was going to college for game design and kind of putting everything I had into that job and career path. So when I got fired, it devastated me. Fast forward to today, I have a better job with the state, with good benefits, insurance, retirement, and all that good jazz. So I guess everything worked out. But I do miss that job and the people I worked with. I really enjoyed it. So moral of the story, if you sign an NDA, you're better off just keeping your damn mouth shut about anything related to whatever you signed on for. Story 5 from User-Dependent Singer. Many years ago, I went on a camp through a private organization, and we had an incident. That incident was under NDA. I don't know if it expires or not, but here is what happened. On the fourth and final night, we set up camp at our campsite for the night. We'd traveled up to 20 kilometers every day for the past 3 days by only hiking, cycling, or kayaking, so we were all exhausted. Normally, the people at the campsite in our group was 4 teenagers. I was one of them. 2 outdoor instructors and somewhere between 3 and 5 support staff. This night, we had about 8 extra people who worked for the company who sponsored the camp, because the next day, we were to complete the journey at the boss's vacation house. Anyway, things happened. I'm not going to get into it because I'm still in contact with the people involved and it was a complete accident and they feel really awful about it. And one of the instructors ended up with really bad burns down one arm and one leg. We were in the middle of nowhere, no cell signal. The office was closed, so no landline. Someone mentioned the next morning that we should have just broken the window to get to the phone, but at the time, no one thought of it. And even though we did have satellite phones, the only person who knew how to use them was a little too panicked to remember it. It ended up with one of the support staff and one of the workers driving her to the nearest hospital, which was supposed to be about 4 hours away. They did the trip in a little over an hour and a half. The instructor in question is fine now, has one minor scar on her hand, no bigger than a penny to show for the ordeal. But the company that did the camps made sure we were all under NDAs, because it was bad publicity. Story 6 from user HL Girl. I worked in the pharmaceutical supply industry from 2012-2014. We are a Canadian company, and in the warehouse stock everything from over-the-counter meds to narcotics and controlled medications. I worked in customer service, and my shifts were days. My uncle, who got me the job, was a night supervisor in the warehouse. 4 black SUVs with garbage bags over their plates pulled into the parking lot and banged on the door. The staff inside ran to the cameras, and in the meantime, these guys had bashed through 2 metal doors into the warehouse, except closed by a locked gate. A man pointed a rifle through the gate and instructed my uncle to unlock the gate and let them into the warehouse, or they would shoot through the gate at the staff. So he opened it. They came in, 12 guys, pinned everyone to the floor, and asked everyone who was in charge. My uncle was. So he had his forehead against the cement floor and a barrel in the back of his neck, and was told to take them to the cage, which is what we used to call the area with narcotics, pain meds, anxiety meds, all the good stuff. He let them in, and he was pushed belly first against the fencing of the cage, with a small gun in his back, while these guys cleaned us out. They left the way they came in. They told everyone on the floor not to move for 20 minutes, and set an alarm on my uncle's watch, before making him get back on the floor. The whole ordeal took 8 minutes total. We were from a small town in Canada where guns are not usually encountered. The 12 men gave 0 shits about cameras and seemed to know exactly where they were going and what they were grabbing. And they spoke French with a Quebecois accent when everyone from around that town predominantly spoke English. I had to retrieve and file all of our inventory information before the robbery, so the police could figure out exactly what was taken, mostly medicated transdermal patches, and saw the CCTV footage from the warehouse. The conclusion was, they were from Montreal, Quebec, and police believed it to be an inside job of sorts. Someone gave them information, a layout, a list of supplies needed, bolt cutters, and what to take. Or they had done this before, as a pharmaceutical warehouse in New Brunswick was attacked in almost the exact same manner a year before. The company was conveniently sold to a larger Canadian pharmaceutical company 4 months after the event, and both my uncle and I moved on to other occupations. No one was physically hurt, but mentally. Absolutely, it was quiet as around there afterwards. You could hear the ice machine in the break room across the building. Everything was so tense. Either way, taking the transdermal patches was incredibly intelligent on their behalf. They can keep someone high for quite some time, they are discreet, they have an incredibly long shelf life, and are worth a lot on the street. Like, we lost almost $2 in estimated street value, worth a lot. Story 7 from user Alien Among You. I used to work for a company in the Middle East that provided relocation services to people in America. We represented 3 main companies under 9 different names, which changed every so often when the reviews got really bad. We had receptionists whose main task, aside from damage control, was to write a few extremely positive reviews for each company every single day in order to counter all the negative ones. I worked in sales. Our job was to catalog everything our clients wanted to move and then provide the best possible price while lying through our teeth about the service itself. We promised professional movers who had all the necessary training and tools for the job, great prices, quick deliveries, you name it. On moving day, the movers who showed up were often in unmarked trucks or ones with completely different names and branding on them. The workers were often immigrants who were paid under the table and had no experience whatsoever. The deliveries themselves often took a long time, and items were often lost as multiple moves would be stacked into one truck without much labeling of items or categorizing in general. As mentioned earlier, we changed company names fairly often as the negative reviews and bad press stacked up. Moving is a toxic business, and people will always try to undermine and cheat. This is something you should never cheap out on, as the money is well worth the comfort of knowing your move is in good hands. If you are moving, I recommend finding a company that is local if possible, so that you can meet the people who represent it and see that their business is legitimate. More importantly, they will be able to send someone to survey your belongings and give a more realistic quote and time estimate. Even if it costs much more than the quotes you receive online or from salesmen, It is well worth the peace of mind on an already stressful venture. Thanks to everyone who watched to the end. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.